And we're live. Welcome, everyone. Today we have a very special edition, or I would rather call it a completely new edition to the awesome content that we're creating around IOTA. Basically, over the last few weeks, we came to the realization that IOTA is a very complicated topic, right? And we need to make sure that we invest our time to really explain everything around it, right? So that all of you have the fundamental understanding of the protocol, of the products, of the frameworks, of everything that we do around IOTA. And so that you can also really engage better in the community, start building, and maybe even start creating your startup on IOTA, right? So our role at the IOTA Foundation is to kind of empower all of you to really understand what's going on and to also really engage with us. Because I think one thing that really makes IOTA such an exciting community is that the IOTA Foundation and the IOTA community is really closely knit together. For one, the IOTA Foundation was founded from the IOTA community, right, through the donations. And for another, many of our most amazing people in the IOTA Foundation actually came from the community, right? And we are trolling with you in spec. We are laughing with you. We are excited about everything that's happening around IOTA. And we need to convey this excitement for you. And you can also convey this excitement to us by asking us questions directly. And so what we're going to do moving forward is, for when we have the IOTA talks, which are going to happen on Fridays, the way that I would structure these IOTA talks is that we try to find like a common theme, right? So last week, the common theme that we had on the IOTA talk was data, right? How to secure data, how to do oracles, how we are doing oracles, and also Stronghold. And they really go deep into that topic. We will not be able to achieve that all the time because sometimes during a week we have some announcements that are different topics, right? But what I'll try to do is every Friday really give you the insights into what's happening in IOTA and why something is important. And I think these IOTA talks are also really there to give a voice to some of the people within the foundation and to give you guys the opportunity to ask them questions directly and to learn more about what they are working on. And in addition to that, every Wednesday, right now, probably around 7 p.m., we'll try to keep it consistent, we'll do these AMAs. And the way that we structure these AMAs is that you can go on Reddit and basically just ask the questions that you want to have answered. I'm going through it live, right? So there's no filtering and no silencing. So if you have any questions, no matter what they are, right, just make sure to ask them, and I'll answer them live on the live stream. Before I jump into the AMA, yesterday Hans started doing a live coding sessions. And I think they're really amazing for others to, first of all, understand what the consensus is, what we are doing in terms of the development of Go Shimmer, but also specifically to learn more about Multiverse. And there is another session happening in 90 minutes, I think. So I think 90 minutes, right? If I'm not wrong, make sure to check on our YouTube channel. But make sure to join that live session because Hans is really going in depth into IOTA, into consensus protocols, peer-to-peer networks. I think in general, it's a very exciting talk. So make sure to check that out. And without further ado, let me just switch to my screen here so that all of you can see the questions on Reddit. So I'll answer some questions on Reddit for now, and afterwards we can just do a Zen session in the YouTube chat. So the first question is, when will the roadmap be updated? So the infamous IOTA roadmap, right? Let's actually go to it. So all of you probably have visited this website at least once, or at least visited once every week. I think the roadmap went live about, I would say, a year ago. I'm not sure. And the point of the roadmap is really for us to provide you with a complete overview of some of the most important projects that we're working on, and more importantly, to answer the question of when. It's like an infamous question in this space, right? Where the community asks the developers of the project, when will the product go out? When are there going to be news? When, right? And we really strive to be fully transparent all the time. And that's exactly what we try to do with the roadmap, to not just give you an overview of what we're working on, but to also give you guys an overview of when it will happen. And right now we switched the roadmap from monthly to quarterly. So if you look on the roadmap right now, you can really see when a certain product or a certain software upgrade is happening in which specific month or which specific quarter, right? And we'll further improve the roadmap as we move along. Like some of this stuff is not always fully updated. And like that is kind of a difficult job to do at all times when you're constantly working on this, and this needs to be done manually. But basically what we will be doing moving forward is we'll definitely continue to use the roadmap to give you guys a complete picture of what's happening. But I think specifically also with the IOTA talks and with what's happening, what we're doing right now with the Chrysalis page, for example, we are able to capture some of these questions as well. So if I were a user, I would use this roadmap here really as an indication to figure out where the project is heading and what some of the most important objectives are, right? 2 sessions before in the IOTA talks, we spoke about objectives. And our primary objective is technological maturity, right? We want people to start building on top of IOTA, and these are the most important steps that we need to take to get to that point. So use it as an indication, use it as an ETA, right? An estimated time of arrival. Things don't always go as planned. Things can take longer because we're building this ship as we are moving full steam ahead, right? But I think we'll continue to use the roadmap, and we'll do our best to really keep it updated at all times. But don't hold it against us if it's not immediately updated when an update goes out. And would you give us an update on audit results? What I can tell is that the Firefly audit has been going on, I think, since the 8th. And the Node software audit has been completed. And what we are starting to do this week is everything that's related to the transition, right, from the current Watts network to the Chrysalis network. We're starting to fully test all of that. I was in the testnet. But when it comes to the audit results, all of that will be published and will be available also on this page, right? So for example, here we just published that the audit started and that will take 2 weeks. And so we'll share the results with you guys as they come along. What we're probably gonna do is we'll publish all of them at once, right? Just to showcase that every piece of the stack has been audited. And from that, you guys can then derive on where we stand. But as it stands right now, we are on track with Chrysalis. The documentation page is done, right? Or is completed in terms of making it possible for others to start building on the new Chrysalis network. So the exchanges have been contacted, and they're already now working on the transition. And we'll send out more communication over the next few days on that. And what are the last missing pieces to complete the Poland testnet? Are there already plans? How will look the incentivized testnet in Nectar? Are there already internal known TPS numbers? So as it stands right now, the GoShimmer client has been refactored quite significantly. I think just today, let me actually find the pull request. Just today, they had a very exciting new pull request where they removed the value tangle. So basically, the value tangle was an idea that was proposed, that was integrated into GoShimmer just to get the the framework itself set up, right? So that we can set up the testnet. And with this pull request, they have now removed the value tangle and are starting to integrate all of the consensus components that have been implemented, including Mana and including obviously FPC. So the objective for us is, and by the way, one important piece of information is that we just got some new team members on board as well. And I think in total, we just got 3 new team members on board. So that's very exciting, so that we can also accelerate the development around Cordyceps and around the pollen and the nectar testnet. And what's going to happen right now is that all of the different components are going to be integrated into Go Shimmer, with the goal to have a ready-made version of nectar in around April, I would say. And what we can do then is we can start doing this planning around the incentivized testnet. And maybe just to take a step back, right? If you look at IOTA today, we have a multi-billion-dollar protocol. And if you compare permissioned versus permissionless blockchains, people always say that permissionless blockchains are being battle tested in real time, right? And as such, they're also more secure because the incentive to attack an open permissionless network is so much higher than an incentive to attack a closed system that is just running some internal logic of a large enterprise, right? And as such, the IOTA protocol and the IOTA network as it stands today has been battle tested over the last 5 years. We went through so many spam attacks, so many bugs, and also so many real blowball attacks and so on that have tried to cripple down the network, but we're still alive. And every time the network gets attacked or there's a bug, it just helps to reinforce the network and the protocol, right? And when it comes to Cordyceps, it has been proven theoretically, and we wrote dozens of papers and also peer-reviewed papers on Cordyceps. Now with the implementation being finalized, with the implementation being ready with Nectar and all of the components coming together, we also need to go through this battle testing phase. And what we want to do there is we need to think about the incentives that we provide to others like domain experts, researchers, and obviously to potentially malicious attackers to actually participate in the network and to actually try to attack it. And this is exactly what the incentivized testnet is for. And right now we're thinking about different routes that we can take with this. Now, I don't want to make any promises or get false information spread. But I think when it comes to the structure of the incentivized testnet, we have a very exciting idea of how to execute it. Because if we don't provide the necessary incentives, it could delay Cordyceps, right? Because we, as the foundation, we have to really give this stamp of approval for one that external researchers and experts have provided their opinion on Cordyceps and think it's sound. But for another, we also need to provide this stamp of approval that the software itself has been stress tested and that we can actually fully upgrade the current IOTA network, remove the coordinator, and launch this new network, which doesn't have a coordinator, right? And as such, this testing phase of the incentivized testnet is really crucial. But we will release more information in due time, and I can just tell you all, our goal is to really enable everybody to closely participate there, to send around transactions, and other than that, we'll give you more information as we move along. But the most important timelines to keep in mind is that in Q2, we'll launch all of this. Have we gone over the questions of the effects of Chrysalis on adoption by platforms such as Coinbase? I think so, many times, but I can repeat the answer. And the TLDR version of it is, yes, it makes it so much more fucking simple. Because previously, the biggest problem that we had with IOTA is because of our utilization of non-standard cryptography, especially like Winternit's one-time signatures, it's really a pain to integrate IOTA and to do the token lifecycle management, right? If you think about an exchange, there are three most important functions are to receive deposits of users, to do withdrawals of users, and then to do the internal token management, which includes like to sweep the balance from the user deposit addresses, to put tokens into cold storage, to have a hot wallet for withdrawals, and to really keep track of all of those funds, right? And because we only have one-time signatures, that obviously increases the complexity in that regard. And it also makes it impossible to use certain hardware acceleration or to do other certain type of cryptography, like, for example, multi-party computation, right? So what many exchanges are doing right now is that they're actually switching over from this cold and hot wallets towards an MPC architecture, which is much more scalable in terms of managing the token flow, and which is also arguably more secure, right? And because of the current structure and the current IOTA protocol, it was really a pain in the ass to integrate IOTA, and many exchanges have actually told us that they can't really integrate it right now. Now with Chrysalis in front of our doors, we've already started engaging with many of these exchanges, and some of them have obviously already committed to listing IOTA, but I can't name any names yet until it's announced. But I can assure you that IOTA is so much simpler to integrate. And let me actually show you a quick image that really showcases this much more closely, so that you can also understand how much simpler IOTA has become because of this. Because we didn't just change the protocol, we also changed the libraries, the wallet, and all of the modules around IOTA. Wait, let me just open this here. So Dave made this meme. You can thank him on Discord for making it. And what you can see here is what it actually took to set up a client, connect to the node, and then to send a message, right? Previously, it was like close to 20 lines of code. And now with the new IOTA client libraries and with Chrysalis, you can do it in 3, right? And that's a huge difference. Makes it much more easy to audit IOTA, much more easy to maintain the software that you write with IOTA. And it also makes everything so much more efficient. So I can assure you that this new IOTA that we've developed is so much more exciting, not just for the developer ecosystem, but also really for exchanges and custodians. And you will definitely hear more about that as we get this going with Chrysalis. The next question, after Chrysalis, what else needs to be done to achieve Coordicide? I think I kind of answered that already, right? The incentivized testnet is #1 priority. And we have some exciting thoughts there that we're going to define further and then present to all of you. And other than that, right now, it's really about the development. After Chrysalis is done, one thing that you guys have to keep in mind is that 90% of our current engineering team will start to shift over to Coordicide as well, right? So that they will really start to focus on Coordicide to speed that up, to build up the tools and the libraries, and for that, and to get that going. Yeah. I read many comments worrying about the 1,000 TPS goal. What needs to be achieved to get to sharding and get better TPS? All right, so basically, one thing to keep in mind is when we say our goal is to do 1,000 TPS, we are essentially saying TPS numbers are really screwed in many ways, because it's really become this stupid contest where one protocol just throws around, hey, we can do 30,000 TPS. and the community just runs with it, right? And they think, oh, like this is the truth. And oftentimes, if you look into the details, you start to realize they can do 30,000 TPS by running a high-end spec server. So that means that not everybody can actually participate. Or they can do 1,000 plus, or they can do 20,000 TPS because they have 12 nodes that are validating all transactions, right? Our goal with CoreDecide is it to fully decentralize the Tangle, because that is the biggest and the only criticism that is left after we've achieved Chrysalis, right? Now, when it comes to the TPS numbers, we are absolutely sure that it's going to be more than 1,000 TPS, but it is our goal, right? And it's not our end goal, because our current goal is CoreDecide, just to decentralize the network and to have a leaderless and consensus protocol. Now, how we're going to where we really want to end up is in a fully sharded network, right? Where we no longer have any type of limitation when it comes to the throughput in the network. And we already have a very concrete and very exciting proposal for data sharding. We're currently writing the white paper on that, which will hopefully publish around the time with Nectar probably. And other than that, our research team is really closely looking at sharding and how to achieve that, because CoreDecide is pretty much done, right? The research for it. And now we are thinking about how the sharding will look like and how this future improvements of the protocol will look like. So when somebody worries about 1,000 TPS, just tell them to calm down, right? Do some Zen gardening and just really realize that 1,000 TPS is not the end goal. It's just something that we're saying right now to also set the expectations right. Because obviously everybody wants more. But the question is like, do we need more right now? And the answer is no, right? If you look at some of those other projects, they're doing like, Ethereum does 20 TPS, right? And they have a 200 or like, they have like a few thousand dApps that are running on top there, which are eating up all of the gas and all of the space. But the point is 1,000 TPS gets us really far. And it's just a benchmark right now to look out for. And the thing is, once Nectar is live, we can also start doing these benchmarks actually, because right now, if we tell you it's going to do 500 or if it's going to do 5,000, it's kind of a dishonest answer because we don't know, right? And some of those other protocols just throw out theoretical TPS numbers. Like, for example, the other day, I heard that a certain project does 4,000 TPS. But then if you actually do it in production, it's much, much less, right? So it's just a very dishonest way to weigh the potential of a project. And so once Nectar is live, once the incentivized testnet is live, I invite the community to participate in another stress test. And then we can see what the actual TPS number is. How is mana actually managed? Not just theoretically, but in actual facts within the infrastructure. So this is an interesting question. So basically, mana is generated from your IOTA tokens, right? It's part of the protocol and it's part of this overarching reputation system of CoreDecide. And this reputation system is there to help us or to help the protocol to allocate the scarce resource, which is the throughput in the network, right? So if you hold IOTA tokens through a special process, you can actually generate the mana, which you can then utilize to do your transactions, right? And when it comes to mana, we basically put our education efforts, which includes the blog posts and videos, on hold for now, just so that we can focus on fully educating everybody on Chrysalis and what we're doing with that. And I think with the Nectar release, we're going to have our amazing research and Go Shimmer team come on the show to also talk about all of the different components and specifically talk about mana, because I think mana is one of the key innovations of CoreDecide, and it just really sets us apart from all of the other protocols, and we'll definitely explain more as we move along. But other than that, there's already one blog post that you can look at about mana. The German government is about to launch a digital ID passport in September. wouldn't this be perfect for the in Germany based IOTA Foundation with smart contracts? I mean, this is one thing of the main things of this project, right? So we always said that there's a few holy grails, right? One holy grail is scalability. One holy grail is no transaction fees. And another holy grail is definitely doing digital identities. And actually, before IOTA, we've already started working on digital identities on blockchains. And DID is really key to our future, I would say, the future purpose of IOTA, because it's simply the most perfect protocol to manage decentralized identity. Because what you fundamentally need for DID are these verifiable credentials, right? So that means you store a certain statement in the Tangle, and you make it possible for others to verify the statement, right? And so, for example, your identity object, your identity data, all of that can then be managed with IOTA. And we are very far along with our DID protocol. I think the beta version of IOTA DID is going to be ready around the time of Chrysalis. And right now we have some very exciting discussions with governments and also with some companies that actually want to utilize our COVID passport, our vaccination passport, to help them get back to business. And we saw the amazing work that UBERT did with the airports in Germany. And I think really that DID is going to help us get to the next million, or get to the first million users that are really using IOTA in a production system. So it's a very important use case, and we're definitely looking through our contacts to get in contact with the people at the German government that are managing the identity system. But nonetheless, we've made some very exciting progress already with our COVID passport, vaccination passport. Tomorrow, actually, there's going to be a webinar together with Zebra and us and UBERT talking about the vaccination passport. So if you guys have time, I can highly encourage to watch it. And other than that, you can rest assured that DID for humans, but also for machines, is really important for us moving forward. Didn't Dom say questions will be answered in separate videos from now on to keep the talks in 1 hour? I kind of answered that in the beginning. And what are your thoughts on Tesla investing 1.5 billion into Bitcoin? Fucking exciting, right? We crossed 50K, I think last night. I mean, apart from the monetary value, it sends a clear signal to all of those other institutions that have just sat on the sidelines so far. Like when we were in New York, for example, doing some meetings with some very high profile banks and also companies, many of them have always just said, yeah, we're just watching from the sidelines. And I think now this snowball has really started to roll, where for one, industrial companies are realizing that crypto assets are a real asset class, and they can actually start to invest into it, because this entire ecosystem around the crypto assets has really much regulated custodians. There's licensed exchanges. There's really also new financial products that they can invest into in order to be exposed to the crypto market, right? So for one, all of those companies are starting to realize now, they're starting to be much more open to actually allocate part of their balance sheet into crypto assets. And we, as the IOTA protocol, we've always advocated that IOTA is transitioning towards this digital infrastructure layer, very similarly to the Spectrum. And the Spectrum is a sort of store of value in that regard. And I think IOTA is really taking this very exciting progression towards that serious asset class, and we'll continue to expand our discussions with some of those companies to also like take positions in IOTA, because for one, it's an enabler for utility, right? With Mana, you just hold IOTA tokens and you're able to utilize the protocol completely feeless. And it's just absolutely exciting if you think about it, because for one, you're exposed to a new asset class, to a new investment, which is the IOTA token. And for another, it actually enables your use case without any transaction fees. The way that it works traditionally as in Ethereum, as it already says with the gas there, is you hold the IOTA tokens, they're being converted into gas, and then they're being distributed to the miners, right? And as such, you either are being burned. You don't hold those assets anymore. And so your asset value actually goes down in that regard. And those who benefit the most are the miners. I think miners in Ethereum make 20 million a day. Maybe it's even more at this point. And now with IOTA, you actually take a position in the protocol, in the token, which, by the way, has no upper limit, right? We don't have any inflation on the IOTA token. And now you're actually able to enable your use case without any transaction fees. And I think that's a very exciting value proposition that more and more companies are starting to realize. And also, obviously, banks are getting excited about Bitcoin and crypto assets. So I think the next few months will be very exciting. And PayPal was just the start. And I think PayPal is the 5th or 6th largest bank in the world. And there's going to be many more banks that are going to offer not just custody for crypto assets, but also make it easy to simply purchase them, buy or sell them directly from your banking interface. So I think it will be very exciting. All right, should I take the risk to actually click on this image? I've never I've never seen it. All right, let's see. Okay, right. I was expecting like a dick pic or something. And adding to this, the Tesla factory is in Berlin. What is the ride down the road from IOTA? So maybe something to look at. It's like an hour from where I live. I don't know. Maybe I'll take a trip. Let's see. Have you already talked to Charles Hoskinson? Any news on the Cardano bridge? No, I haven't spoken to Charles yet. Maybe ask him on his next live AMA when he's going to respond. But nonetheless, I think for us it will be very exciting to work with Cardano and also work with other projects. I think one thing that Cardano does very right is they take a similar, or they have really taken the same approach that we have started taking over the last few years, which is to do research first, get it peer reviewed, and then to start really adopt it in the core protocol and to start growing from there. So I think in that regard, we are very excited to work with Cardano, but we're also very excited to work with other projects. So Ethereum, obviously, amazing job at how they build their ecosystem. And I'm still amazed at this sort of Lego architecture, right? Where these different building blocks are fitting together. And you can buy an NFT art piece and then take out a loan on it. And it's just crazy to think about the interoperability that's enabled within the ecosystem. So I think our next step will be to build that Ethereum bridge so that you can actually use your IOTA tokens in the Ethereum network. So that's very exciting that we're already working on right now. And other than that, one of the papers actually, and one of the research institutes that we're working with is the Technical University of Vienna and also Pantos from Bitpanda, where we're really thinking about these cross-chain interoperability via atomic swaps. And with our smart contract protocol coming out, you will definitely see a lot more happening in that regard. And our common theme of 2021 is to build bridges, and not just technically, but also with our community. So I'm you can really expect a lot more happening in that regard. Can you describe how sharding is progressing both data and value? Where are we and what are the next steps? So data sharding is pretty well defined. We are going to write a white paper on that. Right now, everybody's really focused on first of all, finishing up this sort of yellow paper for Corticide, which is like all of the research specifications. And for another, obviously, on Go Shimmer. And it's just about finding the time to write these papers, but we'll definitely try to publish it around the time of the Nectar release. For value sharding, I think there's some very interesting ideas that are currently being explored. One thing that I'm definitely looking forward to is hopefully things will open up soon so that we can continue doing our monthly research summits, where all of our researchers and also some of the engineers come together in person to really do some whiteboard sessions on these things. And that really helps us also to progress with this stuff. But other than that, on the value tangles, I don't think that there is a defined approach yet. There's multiple ones that are being assessed. And once we make some more validation or more input, we'll definitely share it with you guys as well. Is there any ongoing community effort to add Trezor support for Firefly? Not that I know of. I'm pretty sure that with the moving to UTXO and also moving to an EDDSA, it will be much easier for Trezor to support IOTA. I think once it's live on the mainnet, we should definitely speak with them. Did you or others from the IF ever talk with Jeremy Rifkin? Not yet. We're definitely open for it. But I think like one thing that I'm very sure of is we are moving along and our like execution is really, or our strategy is really like bearing its fruits. I definitely think that we'll be able to get some very exciting individuals into our advisory board or even the supervisory board. And I think that's really the role that the IOTA Foundation will play in the future as well, where we bring these individuals together to also speak about some of these important topics of the future. So one thing that I'm very excited about is really to think more broadly around some of these socio-economic topics, especially around incentive structures for example, for some of these sharing economy use cases. And so I think the way that I see the IOTA Foundation is to bring these experts together to talk about these topics, to think about these topics, and then to also come up with some solutions to them, right? So Jeremy Rifkin is also one of those futurists that we definitely want to speak to, and I don't think we'll have a problem to find that. From what I remember, isn't he also somebody that doesn't use a phone and isn't connected? I just remember it was one person, one of these futurists. So I'm not sure. Let me know what you think. What's your favorite Counter-Strike 1.6 map? I'm gonna say something very controversial here. Like I was never really a PC gamer, because I came from Italy, right? We had a really shitty PC, so the only way for me to really play video games was through my beloved PlayStation console. So I never really got to play Counter-Strike. Just FYI, I was more of the Call of Duty guy. Let's do 2 more questions. What % of your net worth is in IOTA? Do you have holdings in any other crypto? If so, which? Well, I'm not gonna talk specifics here because like that never ends up good. But it's definitely the vast majority of my net worth is in IOTA, and I've only sold very little over the last few years, simply because I believe in the project, and as one of the main drivers behind the project, you kind of feel like this personal, I would say, duty, this personal obligation to be the last man standing if the ship fails, right? And I think that's one of the things that also David did very well together with me, obviously, as well, was like we were always the ones that were trying to hold it all together, and always thought that we had to suffer the most in that regard. So we didn't take out any money when we hit the all-time high, right? And I think the way that I see this progressing is IOTA is just amazing to build, and it's amazing fun. And it is my personal duty, obviously, to help lead the foundation, be part of the community, but to also really set up other ventures that are helping IOTA. So everything that I'm kind of doing is really to have this effect, this leverage effect on IOTA to get it adopted, to push it out into the community. We saw that with Zane, for example, where they're utilizing IOTA in their AI, and there's also going to be other projects that I'm involved in. And so with all of that, we're really we have built up this huge ecosystem around IOTA, and I think that will only progress over the next few months. Do you have holdings in any other crypto? No. So one thing is, I've never held any stock, not a single stock. I only have equity in startups, and I only have IOTA tokens. Right? So I don't hold any other crypto. I'm very, very maximalist in that regard. But I'm very excited to actually hold other cryptos that are built on top of IOTA. So if you have an idea for a new tokenized asset, for a new NFT, or even some new projects, like I'm definitely up for that. It's all about the IOTA ecosystem. Does AIF have any price targets to sell portions of their holdings in order to stay afloat over the years in the volatile world of crypto? Obviously, we do financial planning, but I'm not going to talk specifics here. But as it stands right now, we have a very exciting strategy to actually get to make sure that we don't need to liquidate tokens anymore. And this is basically what we are executing right now. But obviously, it would be stupid for me to talk about price targets and stuff like that. Oh, I missed out this question. I have a curiosity. At the beginning, when I started to follow IOTA, it used a ternary system, and I found it very interesting because it consumed less than a binary one and could be used for low consumption devices. You have planned to resume the ternary system in a hypothetical IOTA in the future 3.0. The way that I see IOTA is the fundamental thing to prove is the tangle, right? That is fully decentralized, that is really the most secure and the most decentralized consensus protocol, and most importantly, that it's feeless, right? That is like the main thing that we absolutely need to get right, and that we need to prove to the broader community that we got it right with the DAG, with the tangle. And we're on a really good path there, right? Now, what we've done now is we're taking out all of those other components that also are very exciting in nature, but still need more time to be proven. And more importantly, many of these concepts also need outside factors that we cannot influence. Like, for example, needing ternary hardware to accelerate IOTA on ternary devices, right? And as such, we've made this decision to focus on the tangle first and foremost. And we, as a protocol, we have to be very open to adopt new technologies and new approaches. So I think with the tangle improvement proposals, we're definitely making the protocol a lot more open to be innovated on. I do not want IOTA to become like Bitcoin, where they are kind of stuck in terms of the progression of the tech, and they have this stance against change, right? And in 2021, if you're not open for change, if you're not ready for change, I think you will be left behind at one point. I don't know when in the future, but you need to be able to adapt and to adopt these new technologies, these new approaches. And you need to dare to actually reinvent yourself, right? If you made the decision in the past that no longer is true, you need to be able to realize and to admit that that decision was wrong, right? And that you need to divert course, make a different decision, and move full steam ahead. And I think we've done a pretty good job at that. And I'm very excited for the next steps that we're taking. So in the future, if there's new cryptography, if there's a new, better UTXO model, whatever, right, we will be able to adopt that. And one thing that we have in IOTA Foundation are those domain experts that really understand distributed ledgers, that really understand DAGs in particular, and that really also understand the cryptography behind it. So with that, we're really in a really good position, and we are prepared for the future, basically. So with that, I think we answered pretty much most of the questions. Sorry, like I can't go through all of them. Next time, just if you have a very interesting question, maybe bribe your friends to upload it. So I'll definitely go through it. But let's maybe do some quick questions on the live stream. if you guys have any. Are there any questions in the live stream? Else, I can tell you guys that you should definitely start watching or get prepared for the live stream with Hans, because even though it's very technical, I think he has a really good way in explaining these things in a simple term. And I think over the next few weeks, we're also going to invite other researchers from our amazing team who maybe will do like a research like Stammtisch in that regard, where they come together and where they discuss interesting topics, interesting concepts. Because what we're trying to do right now is to bring you closer to the engineering side, but to also bring you closer to the research side so that you really understand the amazing stuff that our team is working on. And even though the math is too complicated for me, right, as well, I think our research team has really some amazing stuff to talk about. So I think this YouTube live AMA was kind of a stupid idea. Because it's kind of hard to go through this. What happened to Celsius network addition and custody announcements? So Celsius is still moving forward, right? We're still close with our team. And what we are focused on right now is to actually get IOTA integrated into one of their custody providers. And you will hear more about that very soon. But Celsius basically needs one of these custody providers in order to take IOTA and accept IOTA. And once we have that provider, we'll definitely move forward with that. And then you can also use IOTA in the Ethereum network, right? And I think that will be very exciting. Like, people are gonna hate me now if I don't answer those questions. Where will Cordicide modules be implemented? Go Shimmer for testing, but for mainnet, I guess B, maybe also Hornet, or will Go Shimmer be reused? That's a good question. All of the modules are being implemented in Go Shimmer right now. Right? So this is sort of like our first version of the protocol of Cordicide to test the modules in real life or in a real setting. And afterwards, what's very important for Cordicide is that we have two core clients, one written in Rust, which will be a form of B, and one written in Go, which will be a form of Hornet. What happens with the Go client is that we'll definitely have to rewrite the Go Shimmer client. Maybe we can reuse some of the components, but we have to take a different approach for our development there. And I think especially Luca from the Hornet team and also Max then will be able to help lead that effort and get it towards production readiness. So it's more like that Go Shimmer will merge into a version of Hornet, I would say. All unanswered questions will be answered in Discord. That's a good point. At what point in time did you switch from frozen pizza to Chinese food? I basically made this joke today that I have to stop eating Chinese food because like this abusive relationship where for one, you love it, but for another, it's not good for you. And I really try to eat healthy. If there's one advice that I can give to you guys, it's definitely to eat healthy. That just really helps your mind and your thinking so much more. And exercise and get enough sleep. I think that's important. I would love to know how the migration of the tokens from Trinity to Firefly will work if a ledger is used as a hardware wallet. There's no migration from Trinity to Firefly. The way that you can think about this is that it's basically the wallet front end that connects to yours, the way that your seed is stored, right? So Firefly will be able to be utilized easily with your ledger wallet, and everything that has to do with the migration, we will like the Firefly team and the Firefly software will help you with that migration in full. So I think you don't have to be worried about that, and just maybe one more thing about the migration, right? The way that it will work is that probably 1 week before the Chrysalis network will go live, there's going to be a period where you can already do the transition by sending your tokens to the burn address. Obviously, the network itself will still be live. Then once the Chrysalis network is live, we'll launch a new network, and then afterwards you can easily migrate from the old network to the new network. So there's nothing to worry about. We are very experienced with migrations, so don't worry. We'll hold your hands. How are the developers getting paid? What is the source of income for the IOTA Foundation? They are getting paid in fiat money, right? We have a traditional setup with everything, and basically we have normal payrolls. We pay our taxes. We have social contributions that we pay. So just because we are building up this new financial system with IOTA, we still have to do things the normal way, right? With the way that we structure the company, the way that we registered and regulated and stuff like that. And the IOTA Foundation also has to liquidate part of the treasury in order to pay the salaries, or we have income that is generated from other sources like grants or other companies paying us, for example. So that's basically how it works in IOTA. And I think every other project also works like that. Dom, I have held my IOTA for 4 years. I don't want to burn them. Yeah, it kind of hurts, right? We're going from what IOTA was born with, which was this painful experience of loading up your wallet, GUI wallet, of generating WATS addresses and trying not to reuse them, towards this new, very exciting future, which is IOTA with Chrysalis, which is IOTA with Corticide. So even though we are kind of burning the IOTA tokens that we've held for so long, it's a complete new beginning, right? And I think it's quite a very strong signal also for the project. So I'm very excited for this migration, and I can definitely encourage all of you to be part of this new exciting future. And I think with that, I think we can leave it at this. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you like this format, if you want to ask questions on a different kind of platform, let us know. Apologies that I couldn't answer all of the questions on YouTube. It's kind of difficult to do that. But if you have questions, join our Discord. All of our team members, we are there. So if you have questions, just ask there, and we're happy to help out. And also like really make you feel as part of the project. And with that, grab a glass of water, grab your Zen garden, and let's start watching Hans and his live stream. Thank you, and bye-bye.